Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing the I Know What You Did Last Summer book tag. This tag was created by Evita Lecturitas in Biblioteca de Blue Rose and translated from the Spanish by Goddess of Gore, and I saw it originally on Criminali's channel. So I'll leave links to all four booktubers in the show notes down below. I'll do the created by and then the translated from the Spanish and then saw it on Criminali, as well as a copy of the prompts, as well as a copy of the books or mentions of the books. Uh, anyway, so let's get going. I'm feeling a bit down today, so hopefully this tag will cheer me up. Hopefully this tag will cheer me up, assuming I can speak. So prompt number 1, Final Girl. A book with a strong female protagonist. So for this prompt, I'm going with Maria Theresa by Barbara Stolberg-Brillinger. This is a biography of Maria Theresa, who was the Empress of the Holy Roman Empire and Archduchess of Austria. She was one of the most important women of the 18th century, and she was a very tough monarch. And this is a really good book. Prompt number 2, Popcorn, a book you couldn't put down or stop reading. So for this, I'm going to go with one of the books from the Reaction Animal series, Squid by Martin Whelan, although honestly you could pick any one of these except for Dog or Spider. And read them in no time at all. They are very slim, filled with illustrations, and incredibly readable. And in a way, they are the nonfiction equivalent of popcorn. You could just gobble these up without really paying too much attention, and well, yeah, by the time you're finished, you'll have the metaphor didn't quite work out. Because I think it would be more like candy. You'd end up in a coma or something. I don't know quite what eating too much popcorn does to you. Anyway, moving on. Prompt number 3, Ticket. Name the book that introduced you to your favorite genre. So for this prompt, I'm going to go with The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian by Robert E. Howard. Although I will probably title when I mention this book as just Conan by Robert E. Howard. And it's not necessarily this book that introduced me to fantasy, which is my favorite genre, but rather the first film adaptation of Conan, Conan the Barbarian. That introduced me to fantasy, and those 1980s sword and sorcery movies really ignited my love of fantasy, and that's largely continued to the present, ignoring the fact that the prose form of fantasy and me aren't quite getting along for whatever weird reasons. But anyway, that's not the point of this question, is it? But yeah, so it was really those two Conan movies, Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, alongside Red Sonja and Beastmaster and the Execrable Ator and Masters of the Universe and all of that really got me into fantasy, and I've never really got out of it. So yeah, I'll go with that. Prompt number 4, Outdoor Cinema. So this prompt involves 3 different movie-related prompts. So the first question is, name a book that has the best book-to-film adaptation. So for this, I'm going to go with Raise the Red Lantern, which is an adaptation of the short novel or novella of the same name by Su Tong. It's about a young woman who's in China who's highly educated, um, and she bewilderingly agrees to become the fourth wife of an incredibly wealthy man. And the story is her conflicts with two of the other three wives, the second and third wife, and the ultimate consequences of her choice. It's a really good movie, and it's a fairly good novella. It's been forever since I've read either or watched either. Has it been since I think the 90s? So in like the 90s, very early 2000s, I mean very very early 2000s, Bravo used to be a lot more culturally oriented than they are now. And every Sunday, they would have a foreign cinema, like a foreign movie. Um, and I would watch those films religiously and really enjoy them. And there were a lot of like European films, Asian films, but unfortunately, with Bravo becoming the reality TV wasteland that it is now, and TCM being TCM, um, there's not really much in the way of foreign cinema that you can watch on TV, as far as I know of, particularly older movies. And again, this movie came out in the early mid 90s. So, anyways, now the second question is a film that has a better sequel than the original. So, this prompt initially gave me some trouble, but as I was thinking about these questions earlier, um, I was listening to uh, the latest Epic Comic Book Wednesday from Michael K. Vaughan, and I ought to add him to the list too. And he was talking about the greatest Batman stories ever told, and I suddenly thought, well, what about The Dark Knight, the sequel to Batman Begins? I think The Dark Knight is absolutely better than um, Batman Begins, so I'll go with that. So The Dark Knight is um, basically Batman's been established. He's working with Gordon and Harvey Dent to sort of continue cleaning up Gotham when Gotham is invaded by a psychopathic criminal calling himself the Joker. The third question here is name a scary movie that you recommend. My favorite horror film is The Devil Rides Out, which is an adaptation of a book of the same name by Dennis Wheatley. It's about a group of friends who have to rescue one of the members from an occult society. Prompt number 5, the movie. A movie that you are too scared to watch. Really, any sort of what is it called? It's like those kind of horror movies where the horror lies in really dismemberment and torture. I mean, I guess torture porn. Really, it's like I do not want to watch those movies. Prompt number 6, Summer Loving, a book recommendation for the summer. So this prompt gives me some trouble because my reading habits aren't necessarily anybody else's reading habits. And I think traditionally summer reading tends to be lighter fare, um, which is a bit maybe appropriate for Garb August. Um, but I tend not to read in that. I mean, I tend not to follow that trend. My summer reading is sometimes weird. So I think maybe I'll recommend a book of poetry because I'm kind of thinking of actually rereading this book for the however manyth time I've read it. Larvae of the Near Stars by Catherine W. Carter. This is a fantastic work of poetry. I'll go with that. Prompt number 7, Scythe Assassin. A villain you'd love to interview. I think I would like to interview Zareth Dragneel from Fairy Tale. I think he'd be an interesting character to talk to. Also, maybe I'll just go with Zareth. Prompt number 8. The Group of Friends, a book with the worst friend group. I have 2 for this one. Largely because I think I could probably use, I'll use both of these and then I'll use the other one for the other prompt. So first up is The Swimming Pool Library by Alan Hollinghurst. And while the main character, who's a wealthy young gay man who gets involved with an older gay aristocrat, he has one very close friend, and their relationship isn't too toxic, but the main character's friendships with the men who go to his club, including that gay aristocrat, becomes quite toxic, and ends in a betrayal. And then the second one is Into by North Morgan. This is a novel about a not as wealthy and not as young gay man who basically leaves London for LA after a breakup, and he basically gets into a very toxic party circuit existence with some fairly toxic friends. Prompt number 9, End of Course. Your last DNF. Catherine the Great by Robert K. Massey. This is a biography of Catherine the Great, or Catherine II of Russia, who was originally a German princess who married the German heir to the Russian Empire, and eventually overthrew him in a coup d'etat, and subsequently ruled Russia for the next several decades, and really was a transformative figure. I don't know what happened. I've got a few days to really sort of sit on this, but I was under the impression that Robert K. Massey was a fantastic writer, that this was the best Catherine the Great biography. And if that's true, then I'm disheartened, because whatever greatness others have seen in Robert K. Massey, I don't. It was just plain. It was dull. It wasn't that good. And yeah. And it largely has killed my interest in history right now. I had I'm thinking of doing a video about that, maybe tomorrow, depending how long this video goes. I could do it today, to you. That I had thought about ordering The World by Simon Sebag Montefiore, and just, that's a story on its own of me circling it and not really actually wanting it. But anyway, so yeah. So more on this on Friday with Weekly Read, since this is my most immediate bail from yesterday. It's just I couldn't take it anymore. It just, no. So if there is a better Catherine the Great biography, please let me know. Please. Okay. Prompt number 10, Summer Party, a book with the worst party in it. So I kind of had a bit of a, didn't quite understand this because on one hand, there are two ways you could use party, I think, in this situation. One being like an actual party where a group of people come together and have fun, ideally. Although I guess in this case, it's not a very fun party. Or in the other, it's like a group of people who come together to go on an adventure. So I'm going to take it as sort of a party where you go to have a good time. And Into by North Morgan, which features at least one. I don't, even though I tried to have a go at this book last month, I don't remember a dang thing about it. Told you how good it is, or rather how horrid it is. I really have got to unhaul this book. Anyway, but I do recall there is a very pitiful party, very bad party, very toxic party. So we'll go with that. Prompt number 11. We have a secret, a character that talks too much. So I'm going to go with another work of nonfiction, The Last King of America by Andrew Roberts. So this is a biography of George III, who, as the subtitle says, had an incredibly misunderstood reign, in part because of the propaganda coming out of the American War of Independence, but also the uncharitable opinion of Whig historians who condemned George III, not for anything, I mean, largely because he really didn't give them the keys to the kingdom. But anyway, George III is tragic in that he suffered from a debilitating mental illness, which Roberts argues is or was bipolar disorder. And as part of the manic phases that George III suffered or went through, he talked nonstop. Like he would talk for hours at a time without stopping. So I'm going to go with that for this prompt. And I'll talk a lot more about The Last King of America on Friday with Weekly Reads because I did finish it over the weekend. Prompt number 12, Cabin in the Woods. The best setting for a book. Well, it depends what kind of book you're wanting to write, what kind of book you want to read. I mean, it could be a small town, it could be a cabin in the woods, it could be a castle, it could be a great city, it could be an entire kingdom or an entire country or something. It could be, yeah, it could be an entire universe. So I'd go with a largest country that has a wide variety of natural landscapes that are featured throughout the text. Let's go with that. And finally, prompt 13, Friday the 13th, a book that traumatized you. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I didn't pull anything down for this one. I don't know if there really is a book that traumatized me in the kind of way that I guess if you had survived an actual Friday the 13th style event, incident, would. So I don't think there really is one. I'm pretty resilient in that way. Although I can get, I think, fairly royally ticked off, which I don't know necessarily that would be the same thing as traumatized. So sorry if that doesn't quite make much sense. Anyway, this maybe picked up my mood, but we'll see. I'll probably just reread this for the umpteenth time. And then go do some manga binging on the weekend. Anyway. Okay. So, yeah, if you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged, and I will be back tomorrow with another video. Yeah, since this video is about 20 minutes, I'll hold off on doing another video today, and I'll maybe talk about the whole thing with The World by Simon Sebag Montefiore tomorrow. Or I might do another tag. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, BookTube, until I see you next time, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.